Zac, welcome to our festive
Thank
set.
you.
Spared no expense here. We've put out baubles, some tinsel, and apparently this is Christmas lighting. Producer Adam assures me it's Christmas lighting.
Yeah, it almost looks like a red alert, but
it does. It does. Well, look, it's the best we could do. All right. Thanks a lot for coming in. We've got some questions to go through about system colonisation. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you actually about the year, because it's been a pretty monumental year for Elite Dangerous. How's it been for you?
Yeah, I mean, really special. I think as you guys know, it's the 10th anniversary of Elite, and it feels like the 10th year of Elite has been Elite Dangerous. Sorry, it's been mega. Yeah, there's been so much, compared to where we were last year and coming into this year. We've had a lot of people always say, where are the new ships? That's one thing we've had for quite a long time.
Well,
I know
they're
that
here.
me and you have felt that. They're here, and we've just had so much, so it's been great.
Yeah, it's been nice to actually go out and deliver. I know we said like 2 features, and obviously we've missed for one, but it's a pretty big feature, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been really energising, I think, for not just us, but I think for the development team as well.
100%.
To drop 4 new ships coming in, obviously starting with the Python Mark II, then we had the Taipei, and then the Mandalay, and obviously now the Cobra Mark V's out.
Yeah.
And just to see players engage with it and come back to Elite and engage with the storyline, I guess for me, I think I do love good story. So I think the Titan stuff for me has been huge this year. I think watching the players take the Titans down one at a time, and I think probably by the time this goes out, I would be amazed if they haven't won the war by then.
Yeah.
I'd be amazed. If you haven't, we're all doomed.
On?
We're all doomed. But watching them go down, I actually remember watching, and I think I did a piece of camera about the 10 years for Elite, about my favourite moments, of which there's been lots. But I do think watching that first time Tyrannus,
it was crazy,
explode, and watching players just not know what's going to happen in game.
Yeah.
I think that for me was
that was it, yeah, because I think a lot of players, obviously we had the Azimuth stuff, where we were kind of somewhat finding our feet again with story and how
we don't play around.
Yeah, and then I think we really took it to the next level this year, and I think we had the in-game stuff with the Titan explosion, then more recently we've had those awesome cinematics with the Titan arriving in Seoul. Yeah,
really fun. It's been really, really fun. It's really fun to see the players engage with it all. It's been a great year for us. We've really enjoyed it, and actually, it's been fueled really, really by the community. Like, to see the engagement has been huge, and it's cliche. I don't know, and I don't really care, but I don't care saying it. When I mean that is it absolutely fuels us. You have no idea. Like, when you're down, we're down. When you're up, we're up. Right. So, seeing you have such a great time this year has meant the world to us. So it's been good, and then obviously. We've got another year to come to, which we'll come to in a little while. But I guess the second feature of this year was going to be. I think it was producer Adam fell off his chair. Are you all right, Adam?
He's alive.
He's alive. He's alive, chat. It's okay. It's fine. We had obviously PowerPlay 2.0 came out.
Yeah.
Obviously we've been tweaks and balance. Oh, we're remiss to mention engineer rebalance.
Of course, yeah.
SEO.
Yeah.
Loads of stuff. But PowerPlay 2.0 has come out. We've had a few tweaks and balances to go into that. I think because it's such a big system, it's great to see players engage with that, and actually, I think maybe for some new players, give them a bit of agency to go into the game and be like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I've pledged to power.
You got those missions, so if you're starting out in Elite Dangerous, you can head to PowerPlay.
Please do the missions.
Make sure you do those initial missions so that you can get some actual progress towards your power. Yeah. But it is, you're right. It's a really great starting point for yourself. Or if you're coming back to Elite after a while. Yeah. Get involved.
Yeah, get back involved. And obviously we've got System Colonisation. So, and obviously we announced that, I want to say it was the last show. Was it show before last? It was show before last, 2 shows ago. Yeah. This is, because this is a pre-record, obviously, because this would be Christmas Day and we're not doing, we love you, but not Christmas Day love you. So I'm not sure what this is going out. Producer Adam will tell me at some point. So we've got some questions that come in. There's been a ton of questions, as I'm sure. What we're going to try and do is wrestle through a few, not all, of the questions that have been the most asked, I guess. Yeah,
and there's some questions that now's not necessarily the right time to answer, but yeah, we've gone through and answered what we can.
All right, so should we start with System Colonisation questions? Yeah. We'll take from the top and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So Zac, question number, feels like a game show.
Yeah.
The question number 1: what are the costs of colonisation and setting up a colony ship?
So, as Piers said when he was on the show, the numbers are very much still in flux. We're still at that point where we can tweak the numbers to get where we want. And obviously, as we said on the last show, or the show before, we are going to initially launch this into beta. So again, that's so that we can,
have a look at the numbers
and see what we think. But in terms of costs for colonisation, so there is an initial credit cost to claiming a system. This is what sends the colony ship there. So it's not going to be a seriously large amount of credits. So I know we've seen people sort of talk about, since we announced it, like, is this way higher than getting a fleet carrier? And it's not. This is very much aimed at, you're not a new player, but you're a player that's put some time into Elite, and you've got a bit of a kitty, right?
A bit of cash.
Yeah. So don't expect this to be crazy fleet carrier numbers to get that initial claim. And then after that, you have 4 weeks to finish building your initial starport using commodities. And
I think that's the key part, right? That it's the commodities part. So the money's that you get started, but actually this is effort, right? This is a huge undertaking, right? This is not like, I know a fleet carrier is a big deal, but like this is a huge. You're building, you're colonising a system, right? So,
yeah, exactly. It takes you have to transport those materials that are used rather than the credit sink. It's getting those materials together.
Yeah, cool. All right, next question. Will there be any kind of upkeep? Because we get asked this a lot. Well, fleet carriers is an upkeep. Is there going to be an upkeep if you're the system architect for your system?
There is not. There is no upkeep cost, so no, you will not be penalised for being a system architect.
Hooray! So we can all just we can be overlords on our own system.
Just enjoy being a system architect.
Cool. What systems will be in place for a colonised system if the architect goes inactive for a period of time?
Well, nothing really. As I think Piers mentioned it on the last show, really, once you've created a system as a system architect, that system will act like any other system within the game.
Yep.
So if that system architect, just works and places one starport down, that's what the system is. Yep. If they progress from that, great. But either way, it's just going to act like any other system that you would find within.
And that makes sense, right? Because the system architect initially goes in there and initially colonises that system. Where that system architect moves on, just like in reality, they're still the original architects of that system's colonisation. What happens after that, the BGS and that sort of stuff, that can all be affected by players.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right. You're going to have, hopefully, we'll have a bunch of commanders that do maybe want to daisy chain out, and you'll see maybe you come across a system and it's got one starport, and you see it's been done by this commander, and then you jump somewhere else and you see one starport by the same commander, and you're like, well, where does this go? Yeah. And you can kind of follow that trail. And you're like, and then eventually maybe you get to this system where they've actually decided to stay. This is their putting their flag in the ground. You get that
right?
you almost feel that journey that they went on to get to that system.
But you know what? I know we're doing questions, but tangentially, what I really like about that is like across that spine that commander or group of commanders are doing, you could branch off at any point because that system will have a contact in there 100%. If you can buy that, so you can move off. But obviously, there's the logistics we've talked about in the previous show. It's not as easy as just daisy chaining all the way out because you need the materials to actually build your systems. All right. So will there be a fair system in place for purchasing claims for popular systems?
So claiming a system is very much first come, first serve. So we are expecting it to be a really exciting, like gold rush kind of scenario when colonisation first arrives. It's going to be fun to see which commanders come out on top. That said, whilst players can be the architects of as many systems as they want to be, a player can only be in like one instance of the initial claiming process at a time.
So you can't lay claim to 20 systems.
You can't just go out and claim 100 systems at a time. You can only be in that initial process for one system at a time. And if you fail to claim a system twice, you're going to be locked out for a number of days. So yes, it is going to be first come, first serve. We kind of want that to be the case. We want to have that sort of similar feeling of, everyone is going racing to get where they want to be. But it's fair in the case of one player can't just lay claim to all land. They've got to say, okay, I want this system, and then spread from there.
And I think Piers touched on it in the last show, where there are time limits in this, and at the two initial stages, right? The claiming and then obviously building the main 100%. Station. And that's because it is such a serious undertaking, right? Like we keep saying this, like this is the big deal, right? You're going to colonise the system. It's there forever. You are literally putting your stamp on the galaxy. So you can't claim more than one system at a time, and you have to follow through your claim. If you fail to follow through your claim, it becomes open to everybody else again. So there we go. Okay, how will players be able to colonise using a specific faction if there are no zero population systems within the colonisation radius of systems containing that faction? Well, that is a question, Zach.
That is a mouthful, yeah. So
it is a mouthful.
This one has come off the back of obviously us talking about that radius that exists for colonisation. That again, numbers still to be decided. But in this case, I think in this scenario, you would likely want to engage with the BGS to make sure that your faction that you do want to spread has control of a station within a system that they can colonize from. So yes, if your faction does not have a colonizable system within that initial bubble, you're just going to have to engage with the BGS like you would traditionally and move your faction
into it,
gain control somewhere else, and then from there you would be able to engage with colonization.
And will there be a limit to how many systems a player can be actively an architect for?
No, as I mentioned previously, you can only be claiming one system at a time, but you are able to be the architect for as many systems as you like, whether that's 1 or 100 or 1,000, or maybe we get just one commander who plays with colonization and they just take over the entire galaxy. It's possible.
Are you talking about some of the Palpatine complex? I mean,
yes.
who knows anyone like that?
Yes.
Who could that be? Just takes a swaths of the galaxy.
Yeah.
But it's possible, right? If you have the time and you have the effort and you want to work together,
you can
absolutely do that.
Yeah.
I think we covered this, but will the BGS rules apply to colonized systems?
Yeah, so player colonized systems will basically act the same as all other systems within Elite. So whatever you're used to right now within Elite Dangerous and a system with the BGS, you can expect the colonized systems to replicate that.
Cool. All right. Can architects, this is a nefarious question, but can architects permit lock systems or decide trade routes?
No. So all other players will be able to sort of freely engage with player colonized systems. We don't want to be locking systems out from people. You can affect the trade in a system based on that kind of economy that you create, like Piers said.
You can create
you have a lot of choice there. It's the kind of sort of economy you want to put together. So there's no direct tool per se to create a trade route, which wouldn't really work anyway. But you can change that landscape of trade within that area of space to suit your needs, really. That's the whole point of colonization, is to suit your needs.
Yeah. I'm actually excited to see how the different economies build up, because I think I said we were talking in the previous stream about the micro bubbles I think we're going to see, like where these daisy chains go out to a certain point and then realise we're too far away from the bubble to actively get resources. So we need to colonise this area here. Yeah. It'll be a micro bubble, and that will be determined by whatever economies people are putting in there and resources, and then they'll move on.
And I think that's what we've had, obviously the past couple of years, we've had a lot of great content around the Fargoids and a lot of stuff for our anti-Xeno players, our combat players, and fairly we've had quite a few people who are trade players and our exploration players saying, "Oh, can we get Can we get something?" And this is kind of for you. Like obviously there's plenty for a combat player to engage with, but exploration player, you're going to be going out, like you said, deciding where those mini bubbles are, and then the trade players, that could be your new hub, right? Yeah. There's so much profit to be made in those areas.
When we talk about trade, we're going to see that happen, and that's the thing we're most excited about System Colonisations. We generally don't know what players are going to do, right? Idea. We don't. Yeah. This is the galaxy is going to be for you. So you're asking us questions. We're like, it's whatever you want, really. Like you can do what you want with the galaxy. That's why we're kind of like we're excited. We're also a little bit terrified. Not going to lie, tiny bit terrified because we don't know what happens until it happens, right? Okay. So I guess on the back of that, what are the benefits for a system for a player for a system colonisation?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of similar depending on whether you're a solo commander or a group of commanders. You can colonise a system either way. Like there will always be one sort of system architect, but if you're a group of players, great, you can work together. If you're a solo player, great.
So you can do it on your own. If you want to be
absolutely.
on your own,
yeah. It might be a bit more effort because you got to gather the materials yourself, but you absolutely can. And I think the main benefit really is that you can set that system up to get what you want from it. So sort of depending on your choices, that can affect the types of missions that you'll find in that system. You can set up markets to suit your trade needs and so on. So if all the systems around are industry markets, you could create an extraction-based market, and then you've got a really great trade route there that you've made for yourself to take advantage of. So it's that kind of like almost out-of-the-box thinking of how can I engage with the Elite Dangerous systems that I know so well to create this new star system that works perfectly for what I want to do within the game.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot here that it's hard to really articulate, but it will be down to what the players do, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, which is exactly what we want. All right. So will colonisation be possible from anywhere that has a human station?
No. So yes and no. So as of right now, you must start from the bubble. Yeah. That's how we're going to start this off. I think Piers mentioned the same. So when System Colonisation launches, you'll only be able to begin the process from the bubble. However, from that point onwards, you'll be able to colonise, anywhere that has a human station within radius. So Let's say we do go with that 10 light year radius for system colonisation. At the start, you'll be able to go 10 light years from the bubble, and then once they've colonised that system, you can go 10 light years from there, and 10.
Yeah.
And so eventually, yes, you can go wherever you want, but we'll be starting it in the bubble.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. If you start in another system, how soon after do you lose your system architect role in the first system?
Yeah, you don't.
Right.
Yeah, you, like we said, you can be the system architect as many times you like. That tag isn't going to go anywhere. That's your system to control. You might, like we've talked about, maybe you're an explorer. You've daisy chained out to a system, and then maybe you want to come back at some point and say, oh, actually, I probably want to edit. I'll add more to this because I've found that.
I mean, you could, right?
Lacking.
If you've done that, you could become. I'm not a megalomaniac, but you could daisy chain out and then build an empire all the way back.
Yeah,
right? If
yes,
you really wanted to.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you really wanted to. Okay, I think this kind of answered the next question. Will the systems display who the system architect is, or will it be left anonymous?
It will, in fact, display who the system architect is. So you'll find that in the Galaxy and system map. It will display the name of the system architect, as well as a few other things that will be useful. I think we'll talk about in a moment.
Okay, next question. Will there be any opportunity to expand infrastructure in currently established systems?
No. So as I think Piers has said again, player colonisation is strictly for those currently uninhabited systems. That's the whole point of expanding the bubble and spreading humanity.
Cool. Talking about spreading the spread of humanity, will there be any in-game tools to find good systems to colonise and to choose where colonisation options are placed?
Yeah, so the map UI will give you some of that information. So the architect view in a system you've explored will give you some indication of what that system could look like when colonised. So you basically, what you want to do, I guess the flow will be you want to head to a system, make sure you've done the exploration part of that, and then you'll get all this information, say, okay, this looks like a good system to either build my home base on, or maybe it's one of those daisy chains.
Yeah.
And you can make that gather that information before you make your choice.
Yep, okay. Are there any penalties or just general downsides to having multiple economies in a system or investing too heavily in one economy?
Not necessarily. I mean, having multiple economies means that they'll even out, so you'll get a good spread of options for yourself, but you won't have that golden goose market, so to speak, where that excels at one thing. So again, with everything with colonisation, it's really up to you and how you want to benefit from that system.
Yeah. Next question. I think this has already been answered, but will it be possible to blockade or attack colonised systems during the construction or after completion?
No. So colonisation is very much not a PvP feature. Yeah. It is once you are the system architect, that's your system. Yeah. You don't need to worry about it being detonated at some point.
Cool. All right, Zach, thank you very much. Well, that's a lot of questions there. It's not all the questions, it's a lot of questions, and there's probably loads more. As I said, the colonisation feature is going into beta. Just to be clear on what the beta means is we're putting the feature into the game. All players will be able to engage with it. What you do will be final. So if you colonise systems during the beta, they'll be yours. You'll be able to keep them. We're not taking away from you. But what we want players to understand is that we'll be taking that time to measure, to make sure things work correctly.
Yep.
Fundamentally, to make sure that the tools that players need are operating as should be intended. It will give us a chance to measure what players are actually doing, because this is such a fundamental change that we really do need to get a grasp on how players are going to interact with it. But it's going to be everyone's going to go and do their own thing, or players are going to work in groups, and we're trying to find that balance. So hence the reason we're saying it's going to be in beta. We want to get it right, but we don't necessarily get it right first time. So we're going to give us some time.
Yeah, it's a mammoth.
Yeah,
task,
it's huge. And just to go back to what we said about this year, and just to give some extra love to our development team, I sometimes forget that they actually simulated a 1-to-1 galactic scale war.
Yeah.
And now we're doing power play, and now we're doing system colonisation in a 1-to-1 scale in the Milky Way galaxy. I genuinely my mind. When I sit down and talk to some of the team, I'm just like, you are talking a different language. They're saying words to me, I just a bit out of was it The Hangover, where just numbers appear. I'm just like, I have no idea what you're saying. But
and we're in year 11 of the game.
Yeah, we're about going to year 11. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. So yeah, cool. All right. So there's a lot of stuff going on there with system colonisation. Zach, we're coming to the end of the show. We've talked about how good this year's been.
Yep.
Obviously, the question we always get asked, and it's really nice to be asked, is what comes next? What can we expect to see from Elite Dangerous next year? Anything you can tell us?
Well, I mean, I think we kicked off this year in January, February. The first
I
unlocked.
honestly can't remember. It was the first unlocked.
The first unlocked show we ever did. We kicked it off. We talked about what was coming to Elite Dangerous this year. That went down super well. So why don't we do the same again next year?
I think that's a great idea. I think that's the best idea that you've had.
Perfect.
It's not. You've had loads of good ideas. All right, look, Zac, thanks a lot. We all come back then, I guess.
Yeah.
For our first Unlocked.
See you in the first Unlocked, yeah.
And we will tell you all about Elite Dangerous for 2025. Feels so good to say that, right?
Yep,
Feels so good to say. Like, stay tuned. It's going to be exciting. Another exciting year for Elite Dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Got a lot of stuff on the board already for you.
Yep.
Zac, thanks a lot, man.
No worries.
Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
You too.